that was born with a passion for football. I was playing football all the time, but I believe my legs were not at the same level that my brain. But at least in football, there is a big component about mentality, psychology, play the important moments into the game. I think the psychological aspect and the sensibility that you have with a player is so much important. And this is one of the keys right now in football where we are missing a lot of values. I had the example this season because I feel in Olympique Marseille, we had a very good roster individually that it didn't connect between themselves. And it was the first time in my career creating a group where all the different pieces, they didn't get together. And it made me reflect a lot. And having that value of putting yourself always into a question, because this is a way of improving. I love people that they want to improve, that they make mistakes, and after that they want to improve. And for me, and the most important one is loyalty, because I feel in life, loyalty is related also to commitment, because if you are loyal, normally you are committed.
Hi, I'm Chad Biagini, host of the Excellent Leadership Podcast and president of Nolan Partners, and I'm joined today with Pablo Longoria, CEO of Olympique Marseille. Pablo, thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you very much, Chad. It's a big pleasure to be here with you. Of course, it's a very interesting conversation that we will have, and my pleasure is to exchange. And I would like to speak about leadership and the good things about being a young leader, and maybe some kind of advices and all those things. But it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Pablo, you were CEO at 35 years old. How does someone become CEO of one of the biggest sports clubs in the entire world by 35 years old? That's amazing.
That's a long story, you know.
I want to hear it. We got time for a long story.
We have time, and that's great. For me, you know, that was born with a passion for football, because I was the classic kid that didn't have so much fun, because I was so much mission driven to work in football since...
You were playing football all the time.
I was playing football all the time, but I believe my legs were not at the same level that my brain for football. So at that moment, I decided, well, I need to do everything that is in my hand to try to walk in the football industry.
So your whole life growing up, you're on a pitch with a football at your feet, your whole childhood.
Completely.
Wow.
And wanting always to work in the industry. Especially, I studied more or less on the recruitment, on how to recruit players, especially based on young talents. When I was very young, watching all the different under 16, it was at that time, European Championship year by year, following the players that they were arriving in the different leagues. If 17 years old kids were making the first games in French league.
Yeah.
I was finding the game through internet, the images, information about the player. That was my passion. My passion when I was young was to check all the talents in Europe that they were making the first appearances with the different clubs. And after that, I had the chance to create my career around recruitment.
How did that happen? How did you get your first job?
It's quite curious. It was thanks to Eugenio Botas, a big friend of me and an agent of football players, that he's from my city.
So, oh, really?
Yeah. So I was there. I was saying myself, well, I need to work in football, right? What is the best way of entering into football? Maybe could be as a journalist. So I was reading in internet, but it was not university for journalists in my city. So I decided, well, it will be easier maybe through an agent, because I have information, and obviously they need information. So I went to all the different offices of agents in my city, and one of the offices was Eugenio Botas, where I gave my CV. It was nothing inside, obviously.
It's almost a blank piece of paper.
Well, it was more than paper. So I love football, and I have a lot of information. I give him a book with a lot of players' talents that maybe he can propose to clubs to win money. So it was my first steps were like this.
That had to be a fun first job for you then.
I loved it. I arrived the first when he hired me. I arrived the first one in the office, spent all the day saying, well, It's fantastic.
Yeah. What's the balance as a young football agent in trying to go after people who are already established and stars and therefore represented by someone else versus trying to find the next generation who doesn't have representation, but they might not ever make it? What's the balance of time and effort?
Wow. For me, the most important thing is how to approach, right? How to approach the problem. In my opinion, it's about changing myself at that moment and finding the balance between being very young to approach players or to give information, and after that, from the other perspective, feeling that for me that was only a small step, in my career, because I wanted finally to work for a club. Right. Because I said, well, in a club, because I not think this kind of legacy within the clubs and the people, we are losing it each year. Year by year, we are losing that kind of legacy and feeling yourself part of something bigger. And my intention at that moment, it was a door to enter into football. It's a nice world, to being honest. If you are honest with people and trying to make deals properly within the clubs. But finally, it was like a step to go to something bigger, that I feel myself a part of an organization, right?
Yeah, no, I get that. So your next role, you were at the agency how long?
I stayed over there for 2 years. And obviously, Eugenio, he had a very good idea at that moment, because he wanted to create an outsourcing of scouting for clubs. That at that moment, we are speaking, I don't know, 18, 19 years ago. It was a good idea.
Yeah.
at that time. So he created that kind of outsourcing for clubs. So he was selling information to the clubs. So that was also a connection with different actors. And finally, it arrived the moment where Newcastle was the first club that they wanted to hire me.
So your first job in a club was Newcastle. Big club, a lot of pressure in that club. They're doing great again. They had some years in there where they weren't all the way at the top. What was the learning curve of moving into a scouting role inside of a club as iconic as Newcastle?
For me, everything was like, wow, surprising. I was inside some football clubs in Spain. We collaborated at that time with Recreativo Huelva and Racing de Santander in Spain. But being part as a first person, living it properly in a football club, for me it was like a dream, an historical club with so much passion inside, and this kind of relationship with your fans. This is the kind of connection that each time I was over there in Newcastle, I was saying, wow, that's great. All the time. I think it's the sentence, that you are feeling that everything is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a dream job. What, for our audience, walk through, how does a scout spend a day in their life? What does a normal day look like?
Let's say it changed completely on the way you're approaching, right? My first steps as a scout, they were easier. My period after that in Juventus, as chief scout, it was the most fatiguing moment in my life. Not right now, with changing responsibilities, the stress is different. But at that moment, a normal day could be, okay, taking the car at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Going to the airport, normally Milano, that they have more flights than Turin airport. Spending all the day, maybe taking the last flight to be back home or traveling to another country. It was like visiting mainly all Europe, doing all the week, sleeping 4 or 5 days a week in hotels. But finally, if you love football, during a period of time in your life, especially when you're young, not so many responsibilities, that's great, no? It's like, well, they are paying me for knowing all Europe, for traveling and watching the best football games in Europe.
Yeah. So at that time, 15 years ago, so much of it's actually like on the ground, watching with your eyes. That function has changed a lot in the last 15 years. What's the balance now of watching a player with your eyes versus analytics and tape and all the technology that we have now? What does it look like?
I'm doing myself that question a lot of times, right now, to find and giving orientations to our different scouts and trying to give some kind of advices. In my opinion, that changed a lot, but I think it's going by waves, or trends. In my opinion, you cannot put all your energies on being on the field all the time to watch live games, especially because you are losing a lot of energies and you are missing a lot of information. At the same time, the experience is telling me analytics, it helps, but it has to be a reduced part of your decision process, and of course, my opinion, technology, especially prediction, everything related to AI, prediction, it helps, especially because they can give you some kind of data that it's over there that maybe you're not analyzing. But I really like the sensibility, and I think in that, at least in football, I don't know in other sports, but at least in football, there is a big component about mentality, psychology, how to play the important moments into the game, how to have a trend during a season. I think the psychological aspect and the sensibility that you have with a player is so much important. And this is one of the keys right now in football where we are missing a lot of values.
There's so many intangibles, whether it's scouting an athlete or it's scouting a business executive, where you want to make sure they've got the skill set and capabilities and resume for the story, but balancing that with the human element and the psychology of how will this person fit within this environment with these people. I was talking to a sporting director friend of mine, and he's at a big club, and he was sharing that the 19th player on their roster is usually better than the first or second place player on a Division II roster. He said, however, the Division II player sometimes goes farther in their career because the Division II player was the one who is used to taking the final shot, making the decision, feeling the pressure, scoring in the moment, where his 19th player at the much bigger club isn't getting that experience. So they're losing some of their confidence. They're losing the ability to make some executive decisions on the fly. So to your point, there's just so many intangibles where you can't just look at data. Because data it's only part of the story. It's a critical part of the story, but it's only part of the story. We're that way with psychometrics. You do behavioral psychometrics on people, motivational profiles, personality. It's helpful. I love it. I value it. But it's just a picture of an overall snapshot of who somebody is.
It helps, but it doesn't have to be the maximum, right? Or the final part.
Yeah.
Or the killer, of a process. For me, it's something that we need to understand that, for example, football, right now with 5 substitutions, there are 16 players that they have to interact between themselves without pause during the game, only 15 minutes. It's a continuous play made by a group creation. That is the most important thing, that is based also on leadership skills. And they have to interact between them during 9 months, playing each normally 4 days, not having so much time to train. So yes, all those intangibles is very difficult that data can help you. Yes, data can help you to say how X player is recovering in 4 days, a difference to another player that maybe is not habituated, and which are the difference between one player and another player to play regularly 3 games per week. Yes, it helps. But there's something more. I had the example this season because I feel in Olympique Marseille, we had a very good roster individually that it didn't connect between themselves. And it was the first time in my career creating a group where all the different pieces they didn't get together, and it made me reflect a lot.
What were some of the reflections? What did you surmise from that?
For me, it's about how to find complementary profiles inside the team, because I think we made a lot of profiles with the same personality. It doesn't match because you need to create different levels and people that they can agree with each other. You need some rock and roll inside, some pepper.
Yeah.
Because conflict is positive.
Yeah.
Let's say that into an organization conflict, I consider that conflict is positive. In my opinion, it's something not about leadership, because today we use the concept leadership in a very global way. It's about how to take the responsibilities. And for me, this is very important. Inside the group, people who are able to take their own responsibilities.
Keep on the hat of your previous role, because now you're CEO. So you've got a much broader remit, but you've been in that sporting director, that chief scout role. Football's different than any other sport. And in a lot of sports, you've got 1, 2, 3 nationalities who primarily are playing that sport in that particular market, that particular league, right? You look at the NBA, it's becoming more and more global every day, absolutely. But there's still a large percentage of talent who grew up in North America. So you're not having to think as much about how someone's upbringing in a different country or someone's languages might infer one thing different than someone else. On your clubs, you've had so many different nationalities, languages. How do you build culture and camaraderie and teamwork in a sport where the first team manager might only speak the same language as 5 of the athletes? How is that done? What's the art to that?
It was very easy in the past, I think. And I fully agree with you, because in different courses that I make is how to analyze the sport you are doing, for example, football, because you need to analyze which is the majority sport in each country,
Yeah.
Because finally, the young kids, they will do the sport that your friends they are doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is why you start in sports. The reality is how to put together different nationalities. For me, it's about primary codes. The primary codes, you were educated at the moment that you were very young and you started to play football. I think in the last years, we lost a lot of all those codes because we are getting into a very individualistic sport when football has been always the most collective sport.
Yeah.
And feeling part of a team and feeling committed for an idea, feeling committed with your teammate. Because I think our generation, we were committed to each other because, your teammate was like your friend,
Right.
when you were a kid. Right now, I don't have this feeling. There are different moments that I really like in the different experiences. For example, right now, last week, our under 19 team won the Gambardella Cup. That is the most prestigious tournament in France for young players. And they were a group. They were a group of friends in the celebrations, living together before the game, etc. Well, I didn't have the opportunity to go to watch so many games, but I was proud because I believe they had all those primary values that they are very important in this sport. So for me, the answer is how to put everybody together, having the same values in life.
Talk to me more about values. What are some of the values that you want to see in your leadership team, the values you want to see in your club? And then beyond what are the values, how do you make sure that those values are actually being lived out top to bottom? Because you're not spending all day, every day with everybody. You're busy. You're usually with your executive team.
For me, it's commitment. I think this is very important. Sense of belonging to a bigger organization. This is very important. Self-critical or making a lot of autocritic and having that value of putting yourself always into a question, because this is the way of improving. I love people that they want to improve, that they make mistakes,
Yeah.
and after that they want to improve. And for me, and the most important one is loyalty, because I feel in life, loyalty is related also to commitment, because
Yeah.
if you are loyal, normally you are committed.
Yeah.
I think loyalty is the most important one.
So how do you make sure that's being lived out top to bottom in an organization, on a team?
For me, it's, as a leader or CEO, this is a particular thing I would like always to explain. It's about communication, about the values and culture, and being an example. I think, for example, leadership through exemplarity is the most important thing that you need to do as a CEO if you want to put values into the organization. It's the day-to-day behavior that is creating the values. And the values, I learned this in Juventus, In Juventus, nobody mentioned the values of the club. Because it was the ambience that they were the stewards of all those values in the day-to-day. This is culture into an organization. You entered into the club, and when you made a not correct behavior, nobody mentioned you, not anything, but everybody made you feel very bad about it.
Pablo, how do you interview for those values? So you're trying to interview for whether somebody is self-aware and self-critical. You're trying to interview for whether somebody is loyal. How do you assess that as you're interviewing an executive, interviewing a major signing to make sure they fit those values? Because I tend to find if I ask people, are you self-aware? Everyone's going to say yes, right? Hey, are you loyal? They're going to say yes. What's the way to actually uncover that?
For me, it's starting each time I need to interview an executive or a football player. It's true that I've not been very good in the last times about it. I want to take time to read a lot of interviews, to read a lot of the CV of everybody, and to ask a lot about different things that I was surprised he mentioned maybe in an interview. Not being very frontal on the question because it's not correct, but maybe putting them in a situation to explain that kind of situation that I was surprised through an interview. And the CV, and asking for the key moments in their career, because you need to analyze very well the context. For me, loyalty and commitment is about putting together different news that you can search on executive or football players at the moment and the choices that they made in their careers. After that, in interviews for the values, I've learned in the last months just to create your own methodology on how to interview people, right?
Yeah.
I like two things. I like to analyze personality, and I have two techniques. If we can speak about it.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to know.
Curious. There's one technique when you have in face a very strong personality. That is the way on how he wants to break, the wall at the distance. Because normally I'm trying to be very cold with people that they have massive personality. I'm trying to be very cold, and I'm analyzing aloud how the other one is trying to get my confidence.
Yeah.
This is step number one. With a strong personality is strong number two. If that doesn't happen, that it could be, is the way he's taking my hand when I'm trying to go to his direction and being very friendly through the interview, is the way he's reacting. That's mentioning you a lot about the personality. With people, I believe they have less personality than me, because you knew it before or you are feeling it. I'm very funny in the interviews because I'm getting all the time into contradictions, and I want to look at the personality and the values of the other people. Each time I'm telling 5 minutes before one thing and 5 minutes after
Really?
completely the opposite. I want to make them feel that maybe the person that they have in face is a little bit silly or is not very coherent. What is the reaction? And I really like it.
You want to see them call you out?
Yeah, I want if they are getting into contradictions also. And for me, it's a killer.
Yeah.
Yes, because
They agree with you the first time, then you change your opinion, they agree with you the second time, and now you know they're not going to have an opinion.
that means that they will try to make you pleasure.
Right.
And when I like that they are coherent into the message is, well, they don't have a very strong personality, maybe physically, or maybe in the conversation, but he has strong values and strong convictions.
Oh, it's really well thought out. It's true, though, you do see in a lot of organizations people saying yes to the boss, the person who's interviewing them, the person in the authority seat. But I imagine you want people on your team who have different opinions and challenge the status quo and think differently. How do you instill that into a culture where people feel comfortable challenging without becoming challenging? Because that is sometimes a fine line.
For me, as leader, you need people around you very loyal, very committed, and with a strong determination. I like to have specialists in all the key positions of the club that they are very better than me. I love to have teams of not people saying yes all the time. I love to have good professionals with strong opinions and to challenging me. And at the moment that you are taking a decision, you have always a lot of doubts. It's increasing the doubts you have through a very good conversations, but conversation with a certain level of speciality into the topic, no, or into the right subject. I really like contradictions, and I really like to have a lot of doubts when you are taking decisions because you have people around you that allows you to reflect.
So let's go back a little bit. You were at Juventus, chief scout. Why ever leave that job, and walk us through your decision-making tree to continue throughout your career?
For me, in that moment, it was really complicated.
I bet.
It was probably the most difficult decision in my life. Because in Juventus, I felt myself like I was in Disney World, right?
Yeah.
When I was kid, my dream was working in Italy because I loved Italy. I loved Italian football.
And Pablo, you grew up where?
In Spain.
In Spain. Where in Spain?
In the north of Spain, Asturias, Oviedo. So, being a kid, I was following all the time Italian football, buying each day.
Juventus was a very good team when you and I were growing up.
Yeah, Gazzetta dello Sport, Getting Sportivo, all the time reading in Italian. I didn't speak Italian, but I learned Italian reading, etc. So, working in Italy was for me, like a dream. And being obviously chief scout in Juventus is,
a very special job.
I'm not expecting any more in my life. I'm really happy like this, And at the moment that Matteo Alemany came to me, that this is the reality, I said to him, no, I don't want to be a sporting director in Valencia. He mentioned to me, why? No, because I'm really happy in Juventus. After that, he was very good, Matteo. He insisted a lot. As I told him, yes, it's challenging. Yes, being a sporting director is good, but I want you to speak with my people because I don't want to leave the club. And finally, it was Fabio Paratici in a very respectful conversation that he mentioned to me, I lost Javier Ribalta, that it was a main collaborator for me. I don't want to lose you, but you have to go there. And I will miss you a lot. But this is the right choice for your career and you have to go.
Wow. So then you moved to Valencia as sporting director. What was it like having your first sporting director job? How did you even onboard yourself into that job? Because it's easy when you get promoted to continue doing the last job with a different job title, right? And so a lot of first-time sporting directors might still act like a chief scout because that's what got them there. So how did you even get beyond that thinking to say, no, the job's bigger. I'm measured on more than just my last capability. Walk us through that.
I analyzed all the different areas that they were in contacting with the sporting actors. It's true that Juventus is learning you a lot of things because there are a lot of multilateral or multitask meetings where you're analyzing also all the different departments in the sport side of the club. That helped me a lot. But especially it was obligating myself to delegate, because the scouting for me, it was like, well, this is what I like. This is what I grew up in. But at the same time, I need to delegate, because if not, I won't control all the different areas inside the club. So the most difficult thing, it was to delegate. I suppose that is like when your son is going to the university, that you were calling him the first week all the days. After 1 year, you're calling him once per month.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That's the way I approach. And also with a lot of, commitment in the day-to-day relationship with the different departments, being very close to the team to analyze all the behaviors of everybody. And I think at the moment that passing from being a scout to sporting director, I realized that you need leadership skills, putting everybody to walk in the same direction, and a lot of human approach that maybe I didn't have before at that moment.
What do you mean by that when you say human approach?
At the moment that you need to manage different departments where you're not a master in the topic, you need to be so much human to allow the people in the different departments to elevate themselves and improve each day under your leadership. And this is a thing that it was the main step of elevating yourself, is also the step of trying to elevate the others.
Yeah, it's really true, because you go from being an expert at the job to needing to become an expert at leadership and getting the most out of people. And it's a different skill set. And a lot of organizations promote someone because they're good at a job, not necessarily because they're great at leadership. And we see this in every industry the world over. And it's usually the person working on self-improvement to get there, or sometimes they have some natural leadership skills, but some self-development in order to achieve that. What was your biggest learning at Valencia? And how old were you as sporting director?
Well, I was 32.
That's incredible.
I was 32.
That's fast.
Being a sporting director, the experience. No, I signed with 31. Well,
yeah.
I'm winning 1 year. The main learning, it was how important was to align everybody. And if you find internal and external alignment into an organization, you are so strong, and you have strong convictions. And at the moment that there is disruption into the alignment, everything can be destroyed so quickly. This is the main learning in Valencia.
And then after Valencia, walk me through that part of the story.
I played golf for a year.
How's your golf game?
I'm improving.
Good.
At that moment, I was improving very quick because I played all the days.
You had a lot of time on garden leave.
I needed one year off because everything came so. I had the feeling that everything came so quick, and I needed a year of being calm after COVID arrived.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in the professional world of sports, especially the people that we were not working at that moment, we were saying, well, hey, maybe you need to position themselves, yourself. And after that, after a year off, to put my head in a very good position, Frank McCourt arrived and opened me the doors of Olympique Marseille.
And then today, it's a big job. One of the largest football clubs in the world. Iconic history. You guys just went really far in Europa as well. Congratulations on a successful career. How do you, let's just go really tactical. Start at the beginning of the day. What does a normal morning look like for you? You're CEO of a big club. How do you get your head straight, get your focus to start any given workday?
Let's say that the first thing that I do in the morning is open my iPad, reading all the newspapers. Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese right now.
Yeah, you're reading 3 different language newspapers.
In different language newspapers, but not the French ones. Because I want to be informed about if there is something very important globally. And after that, I make some stretching just to activate myself. I go to the shower and I started to read the French newspapers because I know that maybe my mood will change during the morning. French newspapers and the local newspapers. So I spent 2 hours at home reading the press and starting the day. And after reading the press and preparing myself and activating my body, I establish all the priorities for the day.
Yeah. How has reading the newspaper helped you?
For me, it's giving you the context of the day. And I'm trying to analyze it in a very global way. The main problem that maybe you can find in a football club like Olympique Marseille, so much passionate, is that you're having your focus only in the day-to-day problems and in the day-to-day perspective and in the local perspective. That's the way I prefer to start with a global perspective. Because like this, you will feel that your problems, they are smaller than maybe another problems for another clubs on which are the trend right now in the world. So that's the reason I'm trying to all the days, especially in the last month, to make everything very smaller than it is and very relative, and trying to have better and better perspective to take better decisions.
How do you maintain health and fitness into your normal routine?
I'm trying to give space 3 times per week to do sports in a private way.
Is it still golf or is it something else now?
Well, I still golf once per week. I'm trying to make it once per week. Still, I have this passion because I think this is the only moment that I will put my phone in flight mode.
Just do while you're on the golf course. Don't call me.
Because the golf is my moment in the week of being relaxed and not speaking about football and the industry. But I'm trying to make some cardio minimum twice per week. I think this is very important because this is the moment also that you can find balance, and you can put away all the tensions in the day-to-day. I think having a good diet, exercise, I think twice per week is not so much, but trying to be 3 times per week, 4 times per week, exercise plus a good diet. And also I think some kind of meditation. This is very necessary. I do meditation 4 or 5 times per week, at least 50 minutes, because that's the moment of putting down all the tension of the day.
I feel it makes such a difference for me too. So I wear a Garmin watch and there's different breathing exercises that it just will incorporate during the day. And just you take moments to reflect and observe how you're feeling and how you're doing. And then slow down and silence and breathe and be mindful, and then you're refreshed, you're energized, you get at it. And it's something that has been around for thousands of years, but in the business world, we've only been talking about for a few years, and the importance of mindfulness. I mean, mindfulness, diet, exercise is so helpful for doing our jobs.
Absolutely. This is the key, because you need to be balanced. You need to be very balanced with yourself. I think everybody of us, you have the ring. I have this. Yeah. We are taking more. You are stressed, and more you have responsibilities. Maybe more you are trying to take care and trying to find the balance. Especially because one of the main things right now, running a company or having responsibilities into a company, for me, is about the lucidity. And how you are not stressed to take important decisions, because you cannot take important decisions when you are very tired.
Yeah.
When you maybe have a level of stress that is very high, and normally each 2-3 days you need to take important decisions. So finally, it's also about responsibility,
Yeah,
and being responsible on what you are doing and your position into the organization. So yes, this is a key factor for me to being balanced between everything, and obviously not to lose perspective in the day-to-day events, and keeping always to this medium long-term view and vision. This is very important. But to do this, you need to be also very, balanced and full of energies, because if not, day-to-day problems, they will take all the energies you have.
Yeah, they definitely will. On airplanes, they always tell us to put on our own mask before we help somebody else. And there's a reason for that, right? There's a higher likelihood both of you are great versus none of you are great. And I know personally, I made an excuse for years of I don't have time to exercise. And it wasn't until I removed that excuse that I started to realize how much more productive I was in a work day because I started the day right. The Whoop, the Garmin, the Oura Ring, they're wonderful for behavior change.
Absolutely, because you are obligating yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I see it.
And you're challenging yourself each day.
Yeah, I'll see it. I've got a rule that I'm going to jog a minimum of 10 miles every week. And there's times where I get out to a Saturday and it's my last day and I'm like, oh, I guess it's an 8-mile jog because I didn't do it yet. Just to try to catch up to it. And just having that accountability, it really matters. It's a good message as business leaders too, that our teams, they also crave a level of accountability. And I find sometimes managers don't want to manage. They just want to lead. But talk to me about accountability and how you help your senior leaders think through what success looks like in each one of their jobs.
I consider myself a leader by exemplarity, as I mentioned before. And I really like it because I want to be the main example for the people. And I love giving vision. At the moment that you are giving vision, especially you are trying to give power to the people, to empower themselves, to do the things according to the mission. But that time, I feel that you need some kind of proximity with them to try to elevate themselves. I love working with young people and to elevate them because I like to teach people. This is something that I really like, and I like to give people a part of my experience to try to grow up into organization. So for me, the most important thing is considering myself like not so much invasive. Yes, giving the vision and just being so rigid a lot of times on being into the vision, but accepting the people that they want to impose themselves and making mistakes, and trying to encourage them to do again the mistakes if they believe it was a good idea and according to the vision.
Pablo, in your role, you don't have time to mentor everybody. So you just said you like working with young people and helping develop them. What are young people doing to stand out to you with their work habits, their behaviors, their motivations for you to say, hey, that's one I want to mentor? Because you're going to have to be selective with your time. And there must be some common themes in some of the people you've chosen to mentor and invest into that our listeners could learn from.
Passion. I love people with passion and passionate on what they are doing.
Yeah.
And I like people that they have the initiative to propose to you to being elevated and teach with respect and not invading another positions,
Yeah.
For me in Juventus was like a university for me about values, about being respectful, but at the same time you were in a box that you were attacked by the top and you needed to defend your position because that's a kind of personality. And you have been attacked from the bottom. And at that time, you needed to impose your personality and saying that I want to fight for my position. But at the same time, you were not allowed to attack another one's position if you wanted to stay in the club. So it was like a good game inside. That is a game that it has been created for a long time in Juventus. So I learned a lot. And I like people that they want to grow up without attacking others, without thinking that you deserve others. another one position, but you are respectful because you believe you can do it. This is the kind of people I would like to mentor.
You've had good mentors in your career as well. Give me a couple of people who've been really instrumental to you for you to be where you are as quickly as you are.
For me, I had 3 people that helped me in different moments of my life. First of all, Giovanni Rossi. He was my sporting director in Sassuolo. Because I was a kid with a lot of passion, I was believing that I was stronger than the people that they were over me into the organization, and I want to go very quick.
Yeah.
Quicker than reality. And he calmed me down, and he learned me how to delegate and how to be trustful in the others. And me, I was not indispensable because I felt that I was indispensable for myself because football was everything that I had in my life.
Yeah.
So I believe that everything that I was doing, I was so much important. He made me feel, well, you are not so much important. And this is not football. This is not so much important. You need also to delegate to the others. He was a good mentor to allow me to start to delegate. I had a good mentor in Valencia with Mateo Alemany. He was giving me leadership skills and how to be a leader, be consistent at the moment, at the behavior to be consistent, but how to manage everybody to be in the same page, in the same direction. I really like it. It was a very good associative leadership lesson for me, and he was a good mentor in leadership. And right now in Olympique Marseille, our chairman in the supervisory board, that he's one of the main cooperators with Frank McCourt. His name is Barry Cohen. He's someone that he's a master one in leadership. He was my mentor on elevating myself into an organization with a strategical view, but with a lot of advices in leadership and the analysis of the different situations. But I really appreciated how he helped me to elevate, because elevating people is very complicated. And he elevated me very well with a lot of good advices and helping with me once or twice per week, also during a month, each 3 days when he wanted really to mentor me. Wow. He was giving me a lot of advices that changed completely my approximation on leadership and how to act inside an organization.
Pablo, I meet a lot of sporting directors who want to become CEOs, or in the States, we call them general managers, sometimes presidents of insert sport operations. They go by different titles. There's not many who get that job. If you look across sport, most CEOs came from some type of financial or legal background. There certainly has been a rise in CEOs who are coming from communications, marketing, or revenue. And there are some who come from a sporting background, but it's not overly common. Why is it not overly common? And what advice would you give to sporting directors, general managers who want to move into a CEO role to prepare themselves for that and to potentially get that opportunity?
For me, it's connected, the two questions, right? For a lack of humility. When you grew up in the sporting side of the business, you believe that this is the most important thing, and the other things, they are only accessories.
Yeah.
That they are over there to give you service. At the moment, and this is a reality, I think a huge number of sporting directors, they think like this. At the moment,
it's almost like engineers in a technology company sometimes too, right?
Yeah.
This phone would have sold itself. Like, no, it wouldn't have.
Because this is a reality. The most important thing into a football organization, what is it? It's football and winning games. Yeah. This is, I think everybody we agree on that. But it's also true that you need to have the humility of saying, well, all the different areas of the club, they are over there to help me, and I need to understand them. I think this is the good thing that Mateo Alemany explained to me. And this is why right now I can be a CEO in a football club, In Juventus, I analyzed everything. But in Valencia, I was very close to Matteo, and I was looking how Matteo were dealing with all the different problems into the football club. But he was giving the same importance to the chief scout than the commercial director. And I believe that finally, if you want that the club is working, you need to be balanced and giving the importance of everybody and putting everybody in the same page, having the same goals. I think this lack of humility that you are believing that, well, commercial director, they are over there to make sponsorships. And if we are making sponsors, it's because the team is winning. Now, it's also he's doing his job. It's massive. He needs also to have different abilities. Humility.
I love the answer of humility. It's sometimes hard for executives or elite performers to remain humble because they have achieved a lot. Right? They've achieved a lot that many others wanted to have. How do you, what advice would you have for someone to practice humility, if you will, and to change their mindset, not thinking, hey, I got there because of me, but I got there because maybe some outside factors? What would you tell someone?
There's a away game and home game. I always say that there is a God in football, that at the same time that you are losing humility, he's putting you 3 steps he steps down, 3 steps down. This is also a very important thing. I think that the moment that you are losing humility, you are putting less energy on your efforts. At the moment that you are putting less energy on the efforts, the final result of the organization, it will have consequences. It's easy to lose humility because finally, a lot of people in sports, finally, when you have a success, and finally, in football, you can be judged each 4 days or 3 days.
Right.
If you are in a very positive trend, you can lose very easily the humility. At the moment that you are losing humility, you are working less, you are putting less energies, less effort, and in the long term, you will lose.
Yeah. Over time, somebody will pass you up, especially in the athlete perspective, right? Somebody is working harder and they're trying harder and they're committed more and they get there. I also find humility is one of the most valued traits that we all have for our senior leadership, right? We are drawn to leaders who are humble, who say, I don't have all the answers. I'm willing to make the decisions, but I actually want other people's answers. And confidence is valued, but confidence and humility don't have to be in conflict with one another. They can both be very complementary skills. I love the answer. It's a great answer.
You need to be autocritic. At the end of each season, I make myself an exam. Okay, which are the good decisions you have been taking during the last season? I'm right now in that process, which are the good decisions you have taken.
Is that something the whole senior leadership team does together in your organizations, or is that more of a self-audit that you do for yourself?
It's more a self-process, especially because at the moment that you don't have 100% trust that is built over the years with your team, so many of the questions, they are very tough and very hard. I'm very hard with myself. I'm judging myself not all the time, but at the end of the season, yes, about good decisions, bad decisions, how to take decisions differently. I never regret taking a decision or another, just learning from the past on how to not to do the same mistakes.
It's healthy to do those types of self-audits, isn't it? And I have a chart that a friend gave me that I rate myself at the start of the year, scale of 1 to 10, of how do I think I am compared to what I could be in different areas, right? Professionally, finances, as a husband, spiritually, academically, athletically. You can't give yourself 10s in everything. You can't give yourself 1s in everything. You've got to try to be really honest. And then from there saying, well, what do I want to do differently next year? Maybe that pie chart was the right proportions. Maybe it wasn't. But to actually stop and reflect and be intentional is really important, because others probably have that answer about us.
Completely.
If your direct reports were willing to be that direct and honest with you, they might tell you, hey, I rate you a 7 out of 10 here and a 4 out of 10 here. It's not like you're fooling anybody but yourself, right? It's just the way it is.
But it's also important on having a very clear perspective of yourself,
Right.
because it can also be a very dangerous exercise
Yeah.
if you are not analyzing yourself in the reality.
Yeah. Being able to have authentic self-evaluation is not something you just do once. It's a constant reminder and audit of, hey, how did I achieve my goals?
Absolutely, and it's very useful. It's very useful because like this you can understand. For example, in my last year, I think, well, I elevated very well myself into an organization, but I lost a lot of things in the day to day. So right now I need to take decisions to fill the gap between elevating myself and allowing to the organization to be more efficient in the day to day. That's a good trick.
Yeah, absolutely. So this next section is one we call the 7-question blitz. It's 7 questions that I ask everybody.
Oh,
It's easy. First one is going to be, what sporting event have you never attended that would be on your just absolute bucket list?
a World Cup final. This is a thing that I really want to be.
You've never been to one?
I've never been.
That surprises me. And who's in this World Cup final? Spain.
Well, let's see what it will be. But, Italy, because it's the country that gave me a lot.
I love that. World Cup final would be pretty epic. I have not done a World Cup final either, and that would be the top of my list. You're a golfer. So what 3 people would you want to go golfing with? You get to spend a whole afternoon with. They can be alive. They can be someone historical. Choose anybody. But I want to know why.
It's a good question, sorry. And I would like to make a very particular answer, because it will speak a lot about my personality and about the way I consider people. First of all, someone from my region that a lot of people maybe they cannot know today is Chechu Rubiera. That is a cycling that he was in the Discovery or US Postal with Lance Armstrong at that period. Okay,
Yeah.
not saying that it was a great period about what happened, but it was his main, I don't know in English the word, but it's a role inside the cycling team, gregario, that it was the guy that is helping you
Yeah.
in the mountains. And
You're getting a draft off him and he's doing all the hard work.
the guy who is giving all the hard work and not taking any of the not taking any of the glory, but you were crucial.
That's true teamwork and loyalty, isn't it?
During the process. That is loyalty, teamwork, values, being over there when you need him. And he's in this role in cycling. He was one of the best in the industry at that moment in the history, and I would like to help him about the values during the golf. Second one, and maybe it's particular, I don't know, and it's not about democracy or not democracy, but maybe with Josip Broz Tito, I would be very curious about how to give unity to a part of the world that it was always in chaos, but during a period in time it worked and they were everybody together and aligned, having a nationality and common values. I'm very curious. And this is a part of Yugoslavia history, is a part of the story that, wow, I really like, and you can learn a lot of lessons about it. Third one, play golf. Well, it will be not the best match in the history of golf, but maybe an Adriano Galliani for one reason, because for me he's the man that encouraged to be the best CEO in the glory years of Italian football. That he was the best CEO when I was child, and the sport that I admired and the way of doing sports that I admired. I had the possibility to have lunch with him, but I would like to play golf with him, to have 4 hours with him, to speak about the values of Italian football at that moment of the history.
It's a great answer. How about, of all the sporting memories that you've accumulated over the years, what is your absolute favorite?
Spanish Cup, 20, 2019, when we won with Valencia against Barcelona of Messi.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
When you have your responsibilities, it can't be better than going to one that you have a responsibility for.
We believed it was a family. It was not a team. That was a family, and winning that cup, it was like putting together all the values, and the values won, and what we created as feeling and as a group, it was like a demonstration that the group is better maybe than the best individuals in the world.
Yeah. We've learned a lot about you today, but what's something about you we don't know yet?
I'm very, I'm the contradiction in being human, because I can be very analytic, I can be very emotional, I can be very passionate, I can reflect for hours. So I like this hot and ice, and maybe my personality is everything together through different moments, and finally find the balance between the fire and the ice. And in that moment is my lucidity. This is me.
That's great. How about professional pet peeves? What do people do professionally that just, it irks you? You wish they didn't. If they didn't do it, they might be better. What would you say?
Well, first of all, finding excuses. Wow, that is something that the moment that someone is trying to justify themselves, this is something that is irritating me. And I'm very easily...
I apologized for this already. Why do you have to bring it up on the podcast?
No, and the second one is creating regular meetings during the week. I don't know, each Monday at 10 o'clock, we need to make that meeting. Now, let's do meetings at the moment that is necessary, not creating the regular habit. That irritates me a lot.
Yeah. The culture of meetings, I feel like, is becoming more common in organizations where there's just lots of them and they don't always have agendas. How do you make meetings engaging? I mean, let's just do a little sidebar, because it sounds like you're only doing them when you need them. How are you making them engaging, important, with high impact?
I'm trying always to organize my agenda, as time is the most precious.
You've got to protect it.
That you have to protect, because your lucidity and decision making is depending on it. I'm trying, my secret is organizing only meetings when there is a reason, an important reason to do it. So you can give to the people also the responsibility on what is important and not important to be elevated or not. And I give people right now only 30 minutes. So they need to concentrate themselves, and they have to be very, going to the punch list.
I tend to find people will fill the time depending on how long the meeting is. If you say 15 minutes, you can often have really efficient meetings because people just jump to it.
Absolutely. I give 30 minutes because 15 you can be, he's not respecting me. Maybe 15 is lack of respect.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put it in 30 because like this, you need to prepare yourself of being very analytic.
Yeah. It depends on who the audience is. I often will just call people without scheduling a call and then ask how much time they have. I can be straight New York and we can just go punchline, not even ask you how your day is. Or I can go and we can have a 30-minute conversation. Which one do you want? And sometimes people go, Chad, hit me New York. But great, two things. And the conversation's over in 60 seconds, but nobody felt rude because we offered the options at the beginning of it, right? It's great.
No, I like... one of my main advice is to Mehdi Benatian, that is my sporting advisor right now. And he needs to organize well his agenda and how to be efficient. It was about a Italian sporting director that called me, hey, how's your day? How's the season? 10 minutes speaking about everything. And I called him and said, listen, we know each other very well. What do you want?
Yeah, I don't feel you're being rude by just getting straight to the business. But it's coming from a great heart and a nice place and all of that. But sometimes in your role, you can help them by going,
yeah,
I already know you love me. Let's just get to it. If you weren't working in football, what would you be doing?
I really loved, and this is one of the things that I discussed with our main sponsor in the t-shirt, that is Semi-ACGM. I would be in logistic or shipping.
Really?
I really like
Come
it.
on. Why do you like it so much?
No, because when I was young, I was playing so much a video game that it was Transport Tycoon or something like this. That it was amazing. That it was creating all the chain in logistic on how to put things overboard. I really liked it, and it's a thing that is. Each time I speak with them, oh, how's business? I'm very interested.
You're engaged. You want to know about the supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is something that for me is amazing. You know, sometimes I'm in Marseille, close to the sea, and I watch the ships going. I'm checking always in marinetraffic.com.
Are you really?
Yeah. Where is he going? Where is he coming from? What kind of
what's he carrying in cargo?
Yeah, completely.
I have a friend of mine who does the same thing with planes, just always looking up at the sky and looking, oh, they're going to Philadelphia. it appeases an interest in him. I mean, logistics are amazing. I can't get over the number of times I buy something that I feel is completely random, and Amazon will have it at my house in 2 hours. I'm like, why did you have that in your local warehouse to be able to deliver that fast? But it's because there's this predictive model and this understanding of what needs to be done. It is a fascinating industry. Well, there's always an opportunity to do supply chain.
But maybe in the future. I would like to answer.
Maybe in the future. You kind of started a supply chain. You were at an agency, right? Hey, we got to get this talent while they're young and develop them and eventually sell them off elsewhere. Next time I'm in Marseille, where do I need to eat? That's my last question for you. What's your favorite restaurant?
Well, first of all, you need to come to the stadium.
Yes, I like this answer.
That's the main thing. I don't want to tell, a particular restaurant. My first question is, what do you want to eat? I
need local food. I need good local cuisine.
Local cuisine.
But sometimes I'm high maintenance though, so it needs to be really good.
Yeah, so local cuisine. If you go, right now there are a lot of small restaurants. I don't know, Copan, L'Épicerie, L'Idéal, etc. They are far away from touristic places, and you need to go inside the city center. There are a lot of small restaurants that right now they are making the difference.
Okay. I'll have to come visit you. Pablo, thank you for your time.
No.
Awesome talking to you. I'll see you for dinner tonight too.
See you tonight in the dinner, and thank you for the interview, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I like this idea, especially because I think it's about the approach you are doing to the job. I think that there's a high component of innovation.
Yeah.
And this is something that is quite interesting. I think people that they love to innovate and they are open to new ideas, they can adapt themselves very easily.
Yeah, for sure. Find new ways of doing things, find new ways to adjust and learn. And sometimes the best business innovation is just taking an idea from one place to another place.
Completely. I'm observing a lot what's happening in all sports, different news, especially in America, people trying to do things differently, maybe to think what to adapt to your business or not. How can you feel the balance with the different new ideas? Right now, this is a thing that is stimulating me a lot.
Yeah, I love that.